Canada does not have a national strategy for the uses of ICTs for development or for broadband growth. It just doesn't, at all. And our national and provincial politicians are convinced that the market is going to be able to meet this need, and that but there's no evidence to me that that's true. In other words, they're saying that the prime telecommunications carriers are going to bring broadband to our door. And I think that the reasons for our current wheel spinning are a consequence of not fully accepting the significance of living in an internet economy. So next slide's about what some of the things an internet economy means. It's something, first of all, that affects all of us every day. Even the people who claim they have no use for it are subject to systems all around them that are internet-based, point of sale and everything else. There is now evidence worldwide that there is a direct correlation between high broadband use and rapid economic development. They are linked. And that again makes internet use a socioeconomic development question that's of considerable significance. And this isn't a business responsibility to have a national strategy for these things. This is a governmental responsibility. It's governments that make that decision. Even Canada's decision to have a market-based approach is the government decision. You know, it wasn't business's idea, although they liked the idea. Next slide. I want to show you another way of getting at what an internet economy is. Here's a citizen of cyberspace. This girl, Eliza Block, wrote an application that downloads crossword puzzles to iPhones. And she stuck it on the application site in June when it opened up. By week 2, she was making $1,800 a day. Okay? Apple takes 30% of that. If she lived here in View Royal and we had an open network, for 1 day's revenue, she could buy a really good server, stick it on the open network, stick Apple to 30%, and if her revenue stayed consistent, that would be $197,000 in the first year. Would she consider to locate in View Royal for an open network for $197,000? It's only part of her gross income of $675,000, but what the heck? Anyway, from where we are now, Eliza may seem a bit unusual. But I don't think she really is. I think from where we're heading, she becomes quite ordinary. But if we keep thinking about citizens as consumers of government services and consumers of online products, instead of producers, as she is, in an internet economy, then we're really going to miss the point. Anyway, next slide. The Government of Canada, as I've said, there's a statement from the Telecom Policy Review Panel, accelerate the pace of deregulation of competitive telecommunications markets and rely more on market forces to achieve Canada's economic goals. That's it. That's the strategy. And I think it's wrong for 3 reasons. The prime communications carriers are now set free to do nothing, and that's what they're going to do. Canada is, as a consequence of this perspective, losing its economic competitiveness worldwide. And furthermore, there is a quality of the internet economy that's essential to keep in mind, and that is, it's about the internet, and the internet is a different kind of thing, and you need to design systems to understand what the internet actually is. Canada is not paying attention to this issue, but municipalities actually are now beginning to wake up to this and are beginning to act to implement their own open networks. And I'll provide some examples before I finish. Next slide. These are 2 quotes from August last month in the Globe and Mail that relate to the plans of TELUS and BCE for broadband development, for bringing fiber to your home. They don't have any such plans at all. They intend to bring fiber to the node so they can deliver you TV, but they are not going to bring you 60 megabits a second. They don't have any plans right now at all to do that. Next slide. In terms of broadband subscribers per 100 people, the OECD figures from this chart show that Canada in 4 years has dropped from second most connected nation to 10th. Next slide. ITU every now and then is analyzing something called the Digital Opportunity Index, and it's a basket of indicators that indicates how ready an economy is to use broadband for the uses of ICTs for development that I talked about. In 4 years, Canada has gone from 6th place to 17th. And Korea, which was 20th place 4 years ago, is now first. And as you saw in the broadband penetration, was second after Japan. Internet, next slide. Internet protocol. The nature of the internet and what it is. Fundamentally, it allows anything to connect to anything. And that's all it does. It doesn't make any decisions about who's connecting. It doesn't make any decisions about what is being carried. It doesn't care to the degree that there's an end. And what that means is that the Elizas of this world don't have to ask anybody permission to start a whole new industry. Google started in a garage because the internet exists. Kind of a large corporation. Somebody in a garage in New Royal on an open network doesn't have to ask anybody permission. They can just start a new industry, which could have 25,000 employees or 2.5 times the population of New Royal. So the value lies with the people that are connected through the network, not in anything that the network does. The reality is that in terms of the way in which our prime telecommunications structure their relationship with what they see as consumers rather than citizens, is they hate this capacity because it destroys their business model. And so they're trying to throttle what makes the internet what it is. And one of the ways I think that we can defend what it is the internet does and the economic productivity that can come from it is, again, by having open municipal networks. Next slide. Oh, good, it actually came up. I rushed home at noon and put this in. This is a cartoon from this morning's Globe and Mail. You've got the politicians coming off the elections bus, and they're going to get out there on the highway to go to the vote. And it's the blogosphere, MySpace, Google, Facebook, Flickr, Yahoo, Twitter, etc. And they haven't got a clue what the map is telling them. It isn't necessary to imagine undue influence of big business on government to guess why there's a gap in essential public policy in Canada. The reality is that the internet is forcing basic changes in governance itself, the very abstraction of governance itself. And it's far easier to begin to grapple with those questions at a local level than it is at a national level. When you're at the national level, you have the assumption that whatever the solution is going to be, it's going to be top down. But locally, you might sort of believe that, but you've got the citizens in your face all the time, so you can't really avoid the fact that it's going to be a more open and participatory process that solves problems. That's just in case anybody thought I was being ideological in attaching corporations. It's not for those reasons that I'm attacking corporations. Okay, now I'm going to switch to an open network as a municipal utility. I can't possibly speak to all of these, and thus the tip of the iceberg icon up in the corner. Any one of these topics is an advantage or a benefit for a community that plunges into this. And each of them would take a presentation, just to introduce them would take a presentation as long as an entire presentation. I want to underline again, though, that there is a growing economic research that indicates a connection between broadband take-up and use and economic development. And there is very good indication from municipalities that already have open networks that even in markets where there is competition, the reduction in price that occurs for everybody's telecommunications, whether you're private or public in that market, just descends dramatically. And in reality, if the internet, the actual carriage, the bits carriage of the internet, which is all that it does, is a public utility, the cost to carry stuff on it is almost zero. So nobody can really make any money out of it.